Hello my friends and welcome. Let's go to the latest update from Ukraine. Today Russia tried to counterattack Ukrainian forces near to Novomykhailivka. This is a very important village and Ukraine has many of the defense lines in this area. Before Russia tried to assault on the south direction from this village but was pushed back by Ukrainian defenders. So today the similar situation happened. Russia sent many of the tanks and armored vehicles. Let's see what happened to them. Alright, so here is the group of the Russian armored vehicles. By the way, my friends, the full video is available on my Telegram channel. You may check it out in the video description just below, and there I publish lots of the stuff like that. But on this platform, I'm forced to show you just screenshot. It's the policy of it. So right after Russian tank crossed this tree line, it was hit by something. It wasn't the mine, the tank continued movement. According to the burning trace on the ground, probably the fuel tank was hit, so it was the leak together with fire. In its turn, that small fire caused the big one in this field because there is the Groz, which is quite dry at this time of the year. Russian tanks continue to receive the damages from the Ukrainian artillery. Finally, the Ukrainian army targeted all of the Russian assault group, at first with standard artillery shells and later on with the cluster munition. Hopefully, you'll be able to see it over here. The idea is to eliminate the Russian infantry forces which could have been landed near to Ukrainian positions. In this convoy, the leading vehicle was kaboomed, and this vehicle is unable to turn over here because those could be mines in the field, so they stopped and infantry start to retreat back to their positions. With a very precise Ukrainian artillery shelling, Russia is unable to use their vehicles any longer. Some of the Russian armored vehicles start to turn immediately from this road to the field, but there are some of the mines, so they were kaboomed by them. And finally, the damaged vehicles were finished with the drone drops. As you can see, Russia still wants to get some ground, and sometimes they even successful. Just recently I told you about 3 of the cases, but in none of them they were able to take any sort of the village or the town. The settlements are very defended by Ukrainian side, and that is what may happen to Russia if they try to reach those. So usually they might take some of the field or forest line, calling it a big victory for their army. Plus, none of those attacks are happening on the south front lines. There Ukraine advances. According to the Russian resources, Ukraine activated the attacks near to Klishivka and Andriivka, which were previously liberated by Ukrainian army. If we may speak about the remains of those villages, they were totally destroyed because of this stupid war. But Russia is still capable to defend this area for some time. For how long, I'm not sure. Yes, Russian military bloggers even put the Russian flag in Bakhmut, which is complete nonsense. From what I see, Ukraine changed the strategy in Bakhmut, because before our army tried to encircle the city from the north and from the south, but this strategy requires many more resources than we currently have. That's why Ukraine cancelled this north vector. We are now here in defense right now, and the attack is happening just on the south with the capable brigades, for example the 3rd Assault Brigade, but still even those attacks are not as big as they were recently. Ukraine had chosen to reinforce the south direction, but there Russia sent the paratroopers and more army units. That is why the offensive of Ukrainian side is very slow right now. About the recent Russian attack on Groz village, today they discuss it in the United Nations. Russia said that there were lots of the nationalists at the funeral, so they admitted that they launched the missile, killing many of the village residents. It is crazy what official Russia says from the United Nations platform. United Nations should be reformed and there should be no Russia. My friends, again today we have more news from Israel than from Ukraine, because in Ukraine everything is more or less understandable. For this particular month, Ukrainian army advances but slowly. However, in Israel, the dynamic and development of the situation is so fast that we have the news almost every hour. That's why I also gonna keep you updated, because it is connected to Ukraine. This new war is not profitable for Ukraine at all, and we have the same figures like Iran and Russia staying behind the recent Hamas attack on Israel, which according to Israeli officials for this day took 900 of lives of civilians plus military. 2,500 people were wounded. Those figures are unprecedented in the modern Israeli history. Mainly, it was also the wrongdoing of the Israeli defenders that were not prepared for this Hamas attack. Israel was finally able to push the Hamas forces back to Gaza. However, there are some of the certain areas where the Hamas warriors, if we may call them like that, still could be, but now they're totally cut from Gaza. There are some of the videos in internet showing how Israeli soldiers took or imprisoned or captured. It means that Hamas surrenders. About the ground operation in Gaza by Israeli forces, it is yet to come. Now Israel shells some of the buildings in Gaza. They say that they belong to Hamas. But unfortunately, Gaza is a very dense populated territory, so obviously there are some civilian casualties. Plus, Israel cut all of the electricity, water, food and fuel supplies to Gaza. So basically it is a big blockade of more than 2 million people in this tiny little place. I understand why Israel done it, but honestly I do not support it because there are lots of the civilians, same children, women, who might suffer because of this blockade, and many of them are not the Hamas supporters. At the same time, I understand why Israel done it, because they have their hostages in Gaza imprisoned by Hamas. That is why they've took Gaza as the hostage itself. They will not put any sort of the provisions to this territory unless Hamas will release their citizens, and by the way, international citizens. Dozens of Americans also were captured or even lost their lives, plus there are citizens from different countries too. 2 of the Ukrainians confirmed to be killed by Hamas, unfortunately. Some of the Israeli officials proposed to open the corridor for people to go to Egypt, probably with Hamas or what. So far it's not understandable for me. But if Gaza would be isolated for a very long time, I think locals will support Hamas even stronger. So they will not blame Hamas for their suffering, but the Israeli side. Hamas published some of the videos how Merkava tank was targeted by the anti-tank system, anti-tank missile or something. By the way, Russia today said that Ukraine supplied some of the weaponry to Hamas, which is complete nonsense. There is the high chance that Russia supplied the weaponry from Ukraine, which Russian army was able to trophy, the weaponry that was given to Ukraine by our Western allies. Also, it has been already confirmed by Israeli army and their officials that Iran sent weaponry to Hamas, including the anti-tank missiles and the drones. According to some of the media resources, for example CNS, we have here Wagner was involved in training of Hamas. Mainly, Wagner trained them to use drones and to act in the small groups, more organized. By the way, this is one more video of Merkava tank being targeted by Hamas. Unfortunately, the Merkava tank is not that robust if we speak about the armor, if we compare it, for example, with Leopard 2. And unfortunately, those tanks are useless in the urban environment, and Gaza is the big urban environment. So what Israel does right now, they use the Apache helicopters to target the positions of the Hamas forces. However, this time Hamas has the air defense systems and portable manpads from Iran. The Chechen leader Kadyrov supported Hamas, and also he said that he might send some of the Chechen people to fight against Israel. Israel uses the JDAMs as well as Ukraine, but they have the different modification. Ukraine has the JDAM-ER with the wings. Israel doesn't have those, but at the same time Hamas doesn't have the very sophisticated air defense systems, so the Israeli Air Force doesn't need to launch them from the very far distance as Ukraine does. There are F-15s in Israeli Air Force as well as F-16s. The Palestinian leader Mahmoud Abbas is going to visit Russia. By the way, from what I understood, Mahmoud Abbas is the leader of Palestine, but he is unable to control the Gaza because there is Hamas. Again, my friends, I'm saying that I'm not against Palestine, but I'm against the movement which performs the terror on the other country. Hopefully, Hamas will release the hostages. Now, Qatar is the mediator for that. What Hamas says that they will start to eliminate the hostages if Israel continues shelling the Gaza. At the same time, according to the Reuters source, and not only, Hamas is willing to start the negotiations of the ceasefire between them and Israel. So why would they start all of that madness a couple of days ago? And as I said to you, Qatar now speaks with Hamas to release the hostages back to Israel. The mediators from Egypt tried to do it as well, but were not successful. The Israeli army says that they mobilized around 300,000 soldiers into their army for the last couple of days. I know that many of the Israeli citizens are coming to join the army, even from the other countries, like from the United States of America. It means that probably there will be the ground operation in Gaza. This is the result of the Hamas attack on the peaceful festival in Israel. As you can see, many of the cars demolished, many civilians lost their lives. Well, Hamas fought bravely against civilians. We'll see how they fight against the trained Israeli soldiers. To other international news, China is building the new type of the submarine with the help of Russia. Those submarines are very hard to detect, and they are planning to build them till 2030. This is the nuclear-powered submarine, and it may also carry the ballistic nuclear missiles. Our allies should consider this threat as the big one. My friends, I'm gonna keep you updated on situation in Ukraine, and as you can see, not only. Now don't forget to press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my channel, there will be some of the links in the video description just below. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and the sponsors of my YouTube channel. My friends, you are awesome. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.